Hello, I'm David from Train-Tech, and today I'm going to be showing you this new product, the RL1 Relay Controller. Now, inside each RL1 there are two relays, which means you can control two completely different products with it. The special thing about a relay really is that it's like an electrically isolated switch, where you've got three contacts on one side, powered by an electromagnet the other side. So with a relatively small amount of power that you can have from your layout, you can control a much larger amount of power. In fact, these are rated at 3 amps at 24 volts AC or DC. And because they're electrically isolated, it means that you can safely control something, for example, powered by battery, from your model railway controller, whether it be DC or DCC. So let's see how we can connect it up. The other thing special about the RL1 is that there are 3 different ways you can control each relay. If you're on a DCC layout, you can switch on or off the relays just using a DCC accessory command. There's also an input for a mimic switch, which is one of our mimic switch products. And probably the most exciting product that you can connect it to is this, which is a track sensor or one of our sensor signals. And with the output of one of these connected to a relay, it means that you can switch a relay on and off when a train goes past. So firstly, let's see how to connect it up and do something basic with it. I'm going to first switch off the power. And this is a little simple LED connected up to a battery, just as you would with a switch. And if I join the 2 wires together, the light lights up. So I'm going to connect that into the relay, which I've already connected. Now, this little piece of track and layout here is being powered by DCC, but you can power these things by DC in just the same way. The only thing you can't do, of course, if you're on power it from DC, you can't control it with DCC commands. So I've got 2 inputs to the power input on the relay here. And the other inputs you can just see here, one is for a sensor and one is for a mimic switch. And these are the outputs from each relay. There are 3 pins because there are 2 contacts inside. One is normally closed and one is normally open, which means that basically you can either switch something on or off, or you can switch something off and switch something else on. We're just going to quickly connect up this battery operated light on there, and we're going to switch the light on firstly with a DCC command. Now remember that these contacts this side are completely electrically isolated from here, so there's no danger of damaging your layout or vice versa. Now I'm going to switch the power on now, and I'm going to set up the DCC side of this using this Learn button here. If you've ever used a Train-Tech DCC product before, you'll know how to do this. I'm going to press it once and the light flashes once, singly. That's because I'm going to control channel 1 here. If I pressed it twice, it would flash twice. So now I just need to decide what program address I'm going to have. And I'll choose address number 50. And I enter that. And now to switch that on or off and to program that address into here, all I do is press on this controller 1 or 2. Now I've just pressed it once. So now I've programmed the controller, and if we have a look at this light, when I change the controller, we should be able to switch the light on or off, on or off. So that's a really simple way that you could have lights on your layout or something else controlled just from DCC accessory commands. Most controllers, this is a Gauge Master Prodigy Advance, most DCC controllers do have control of DCC accessories to be able to use this. Just check with your instructions first that you don't. The only ones that I know of that don't are the Prodigy Express, which is a simpler version of this, and also the Bachmann Easy command, but just check it first. So we've now seen how we can switch on a light on and off with a DCC command, but I mentioned that you can also control it from a track sensor. So I've already connected a simple single wire from the input here, which is marked S for sensor, to a track sensor here. And in fact, if we now put a train on the track, and I go into loco mode, and I'm now going to just press address 3, which this loco's command, and I'm going to start it moving. And you should see, if we have a look at this, when the train goes past the sensor, that the light will come on. Now, when you use a track sensor on its own, with this input, after 7 seconds after the train has passed, it switches off. But there are other ways that you can connect multiple track sensors together. So for example, if you had another one further down the line, you can make it so that it switches the relay on when the train goes past it, and then switch it off again when the train has passed the second sensor further down the line. And we'll be looking at that a bit later when we talk about automatic train control. We've seen how you can control a relay from a track sensor or from DCC or from a mimic switch. And in fact, all the details are included in this manual which you get with each relay controller. But now we're going to move on and show you something which I think is even more interesting, and it's controlling trains using the relay controller. So we've got a different type of track laid out here. We've got one long continuous length. This is being powered by DCC, but you can also do the same thing with DC. We've got a couple of our sensor signals here, which are automatic signals with sensors built in, and they normally talk to each other and work like block section signals, and I'll come on to that in a moment. Plus here, if you have a look, we've got a break in the track section here, and we've made an isolated track section using isolated fish plates, insulated fish plates there, which you can get from Pico or from Hornby, or you could just make a cut in the track. And I've attached a couple of wires onto this now, and we're going to connect this into the normally closed contacts of the relay. Remember I mentioned that the relay has 2 sets of contacts. Well, these ones mean that when the relay isn't activated, the contacts will be closed. In other words, this bit of track section, which has got a break in it, will actually be connected as normal when the relay isn't activated. And we've got the input of the power input of the relay controller connected to DCC. But again, if you have DC, you can connect it to that instead. Now we're going to connect in our sensor signals. So we're going to first connect our signals together. And this is the way that you connect sensor signals. You connect the output of one and the input of another, like that. This wire is supplied with track sensors and with sensor signals. It just plugs in. You just strip the wire back. It makes it very easy and quick to connect without needing to solder. I've connected now a wire to the input, which we're going to connect to our relay controller, because this signal is going to help us control our trains. There we are. I'm putting it into the S terminal, which stands for sensor. So I'm just using half of this relay controller. The relay controller will allow you to do this with another section as well. We're just going to show you with one at the moment to keep it fairly straightforward. Okay, so we've got 2 sensor signals, which are working as automatic block signals. Now, sensor signals work like automatic signals on a railway. They're normally green until a train goes past, and then they turn to red until the train has passed the next section, to show that that section is clear, and then the signal goes back to green again. And we're going to use the output of that to control our relay controller. So I'm going to switch the DCC power on now, and the first thing I'm going to do is run the first locomotive up the track, and it should keep going over this insulated section because the relay is closed. So just enter the address of that loco. Now, the loco is going to go into this section, and let's just say here we had a station. I'm now going to control the second locomotive. Put the address in for that. And I'm now going to run that and I'm not going to stop it, I'm just going to keep it running. This is a shunter, so it's moving quite slowly. Now, you'll see that the shunter's automatically stopped. And that's because it's entered into this insulated, isolated track section. And this signal here is showing red and it's stopped ahead of the signal. Hope you can see that. The following the train here, remember, is sitting here at the station. And I'm now going to take back control of that. And I'm going to make that go past the second signal. So once it's leaving the station. At the moment, now you'll see that signal's now gone to red. And without me doing anything, the second loco is proceeded. Now this is a fairly basic demonstration really of automatic train control with just one section, but you could multiply this many times over your layout. 3 or 4 times, for example. You could have 3 locomotives running in 4 sections. They could chase each other's tail, but they should never ever collide with each other, just like the real railway. So this is automatic track control. As I said, this is just one section using 2 signals, but you could have many other sections as well. All of this can be done on DC or DCC, and if you're running DC, it does mean that the track sensors and the sensor signals like this, they can't plug into the track. You just remove those plug-in tabs and connect them to 9 to 16 volts DC. One other thing I'd like to just talk about is ABC control. If you do run DCC, you may have seen on some of your chips that you've got fitted into your locomotives that they have ABC. Now ABC stands for asymmetrical braking control, very complex term, and it's actually relatively simple to implement. Train-Tech have just brought out these, which are ABC diode modules, but there's lots of other ones available. They simply contain a few diodes, and if you wanted to add ABC braking to this layout, what you would do is fit one of these modules in here over this isolated section. So you just literally put the diode module in parallel with the isolated section here. Now this feature only works with locomotives fitted with ABC capability and DCC of course, and what it means is that when the locomotive comes up to a section with an ABC module fitted, the train will not just stop dead as we saw a moment ago, but it will actually slow down. And then it will speed up again once the section becomes energized. But as I said, it only works with locomotives fitted with ABC chips, and you should bear in mind that if you do this and you have locomotives without ABC, that they will just keep going. So that's the ABC control modules. They're also available now. Hope this has given you some inspiration to try and do some automatic train control or other types of control with your layout. The Train-Tech Relay Control Unit, the RL1, is available now, and it really is very easy and a low-cost way of adding extra control to your layout.